Episode of Believe in Kentucky. Episode of Believe in Kentucky with Cole Park and myself. Welcome in, everybody. Hope everybody can hear me. My mic was trying to act up. Cole Park from the Cats calling here, man. Really Cole, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about you, Vinny? I can hear you a little bit. It's a bit muffled, like kind of like you're about to turn onto a radio station, but you're not quite on the right one. You can hear it kind of coming through static a little bit.
Uh-oh.
Um, but that sounded pretty clear to me. I'm doing all right. We're here back in my apartment in Lexington, Kentucky after a busy week. Two games in basketball. We got one tomorrow back here in Rupp Arena and another home game this weekend. So I get to be in Lexington all week and
All week.
all week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Jenna Lifson's Longhorns are back tomorrow. We'll get to that. Travis Perry is back Saturday. So
yes, he doesn't have a whole lot to do to surpass Chip Trayanum like we discussed in the summer, but
that's right. That's right.
We'll see.
Right. So man, we got a flashback. I should have done a live on Saturday, but I didn't. But Kentucky gets 2 wins on the road. The title of this episode is Snatching Dubs because they snatched dubs from LSU and Tennessee. Your personal House of Horrors, the PMAC, you were in the building in Baton Rouge for just look, how dreadful was the first half? We just got to give you the floor for both of these games because you were in PMAC and Thompson Bowling for both of these, man.
Well, minor correction there. I was not in Thompson Bowling. We sent Daryl Bird into Thompson Bowling. It's the only time I ever missed a game at Tennessee. My windshield needed to be repaired again, Vinny. For the second time in a year, my windshield had to be repaired again. Had a rock crack my windshield in Baton Rouge, so that's unfortunate. But nonetheless,
any glass repair companies like to sponsor the show? Cole could use some glass repair. Anybody want to sponsor the show? Anybody want to sponsor the show? Feel free. We love to promote you. But specific to windshield repair, if y'all out there, hit your boy Cole Park up.
Well, hey, until we have an official sponsor, Safe Light Repair, Safe Light Replace. So we'll roll with them. They've been my guys, and they haven't charged me also shout out Allstate Insurance. I haven't been charged a dime for either of them. So we're doing all right on that front. My insurance agents probably hate me, but it's not my fault. There's a rock in the road, car in front of me, just threw it up there, Nonetheless, I was in the PMAC, my known foe in Baton Rouge. Didn't even get to see the Tiger this time either. Not the live Tiger, Mike. But I was in there. It was all the fans had these little glow bracelets on that kind of lit up rainbow colors with the music and whatnot. And that first half was dreadful, Vinny. It was truly dreadful. Not a ton of Kentucky media made the trip. I mean, more than maybe you would have initially guessed, but still less than most road games. So there wasn't a ton of us in there. I was sitting next to some LSU reporters. One of them leaned over and he gave me this little nugget that I put on our board that Kentucky in the first half, I believe it had 22 points, scored less than half the amount of points as Prairie View A&M did on LSU with the number 300 ranked offense in the country. So that was a fun little tidbit. But then the comeback, culminating in that big shot that we'll get to, we'll break down that full moment because there's a lot to go off of in that. I wrote an entire story just about those final 2 minutes. But Kentucky ends up stealing it with the buzzer beater, kind of mimicking the buzzer beater from 2 years ago that LSU had to win over the final Calipari team when they stormed the court with Angel Reese. That was Tyrell Ward who hit that shot all back in the day because Rob Dillingham scored just a bit too early. This was a bit of a different case for LSU. But even still, the theatrics, the no court storm because it's on the road, but Kentucky's team rushed the court and they were celebrating with Malachi. Just stunned silence with the rainbow bracelets in the crowd. That brought me a little bit of joy. The LSU reporters, credit to them, the ones that are covering basketball, because I think that as much as the fans might hate other fans, most of the time the reporters have kind of a kinship, and they said some of the most sports reporter things I've ever heard in my life. They said, well, that's about what I expected from this team, or no, it's only fitting it ended this way, or this team, they said that's basketball in Baton Rouge. So we're all jaded in the same kind of ways towards the team we cover. We're all expecting the worst at all times. So that's fun. And then, even if I wasn't in the building, got to miss out on hearing Rocky Top 80,000 times. Um, we did have Daryl Bird on site, and I was covering the game still, seeing that comeback. I remember tweeting in the first half saying, they did this against LSU, but I don't think Tennessee is going to be the kind of team that lets their foot off the gas the way LSU did. I don't think Tennessee is going to be quite as forgiving as LSU was. Just to find out, no, they were exactly as forgiving. And Kentucky takes its first lead with about 30 seconds left to go, never surrenders it, and wins in Knoxville. The cardiac cats, the comeback cats, whatever you want to call them. That's back-to-back games with 17 and 18-point comebacks, making it 3 straight games. All of their SEC wins so far, they've come back from down 12 or more. Just truly fascinating stuff.
Yeah. So I'm in a text group with some Tennessee fans. And of course, I think I've told this before, we're all Braves fans in the spring and summer. So we're united. Then when the fall and winter gets here, the line is drawn and it's Kentucky, Tennessee. They asked me what I thought about the game. I had no clue what Kentucky team was going to show up. They kind of felt the same about Tennessee. And I was a little bit late getting home, turned it on, and they were already down like 34-20. It was double digits already. And I texted them, I said, "Oh, already down double digits." So typical Mark Pope squad. That's what we do. They responded, "Don't worry, we'll go on a 5-minute scoring drought." And the last 5 minutes of the game, they had no field goals.
They did. Well, along that same vein, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want anyone that's a Vols fan to get mad at him, but I had a sports reporter that I'm good friends with from Tennessee text me about midway through that game. About midway through Kentucky's comeback, he just texted me, "This is hilarious, period." And I was like, "Don't worry, they'll find a way to blow it." And he's like, "I doubt it." He said, never doubt the Vols in blowing something. You know what I mean? So pause, but still, it is funny. Like I said, sports writers and sometimes fans alike, they have that kinship, and we're always just expecting the worst from our teams at all times.
Yeah, that's for sure. And especially LSU basketball and Kentucky football, because and if you have seen the Miracles SEC story documentary where, the Bluegrass Miracle for them in football, the Mardi Gras Miracle for us in basketball, it's, Kentucky goes down there and rips their hearts out, overcoming 31-point deficit. Nick Saban and LSU ripped Kentucky's hearts out on a Hail Mary. And that's, there's reasons why we kind of get jaded. The new coaches and players that weren't born yet don't really know it, but that stuff stacks on a fan base, and that history just stacks, and you wear it. I lived through all those losses to Tennessee, and so you went into that dread, this 28-year, 25-year losing streak, and so many near misses. Same thing with Florida, the Chris Doering game. You have 7 interceptions and you still lose. That stuff it's just you talked about the pressure, I think, for Cal's team last year, because in the tournament it's going to build every year.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, the dread, the nervousness, the how are we going to find a way to lose this time? My dad's telling me stories because he predates me and he already has the burden and he's passing it on to me because that's just what you do,
I mean, there's a reason why my story based in the LSU game, and someone asked me, like, why are you still bringing up Calipari? Here's why. The story was titled Malachi Moreno's Bayou Heroics Exercise Another John Calipari Demon. And I hate to just keep harping on Cal, but the reason is because that still weighs on people. When I went down to Baton Rouge, the only thing I heard the entire first half of the game is 2 years ago, 2 years ago, 2 years ago, buzzer beater, court. That's what everybody's thinking. You know what I mean? Like that stuff, like you just said, that stuff stacks, it builds. So there is a reason why sports fans get so jaded. You can only take so much more heartbreak before you just start to become a bit numb to it. You know what I mean? So those things from the past stick with them, and it's cool to see some of these things, for Kentucky at least, trend in the right direction.
You mentioned the PMAC, just stunned silence with the glow bracelets and all that.
Yes.
You weren't in Thompson Bowling, but first of all, backtrack. How loud was the PMAC? Because it sounded like it wasn't that crowded or that loud. Was it a decent crowd, and was it pretty loud when they were winning, or was it just kind of? Yeah.
It was not very full, we'll be honest with
Okay.
you. There was a
Okay.
lot of empty seats. The bottom part was mostly filled, but the top part, there was some fans here and there, and there was a decent, like, I'm not gonna say it was like empty. It wasn't, but it was also like not really that close to full capacity either. I mean, they had lost 3 straight going into this one. Their point guard was out again, and in Kentucky, whether it's always going to be Kentucky, but Kentucky wasn't exactly setting the world on fire going into it
Yeah.
either. Their head
Hmm.
coach, their AD came out before the game or something like that and said that their head coach is probably on the hot seat. So yeah, you're not going to get them. And it's LSU. They care
No
about
pressure.
football. They
Yeah.
care about football.
Uh-huh.
Um, so not the best crowd you'll ever see in your life in the PMAC.
It's more people wondering where Lane Kiffin ate dinner at than were
Yeah.
actually at the game that night for sure.
Yeah.
So flipping to Tennessee, even though you weren't there, Daryl Bird was there. The same stunned, disheartened devastation because of the way they lost. And when I think Vanderbilt in Florida was the next game on, that before they panned away and went to the next game, you have the scuffle, you have the little dust up at the end. Everybody that's wondering what Oweh said, it's out there. You can find the audio of what Oweh said to Jalen Carey. But again, going back to my Tennessee fan friends, because initially I'm seeing on TV, I see Brandon Garrison. I'm like, we all know he's ready. He got a quick trigger, quick fuse. We saw the Oklahoma game.
Yeah, I think they went
The
after
dude,
Oweh, and BG was about to get in it before Oweh was.
exactly.
He was all ready to jump in there.
Exactly. So before, even the Tennessee, everybody who had a camera, media type, you could hear what Oweh said to Carey, and then Nate Ament just kind of puts his hand on Oweh, who smacks Oweh's hand away. Then Carey does the push. Anyway, my Tennessee fan friends who are bleed orange, and obviously after that, their question is, who tries to start a fight when they are 3 of 11 and all their shots are 2 feet from the basket? Whatever Oweh said to Carey, he should have agreed and thanked him because it's true. So these
It
are
is.
fans, diehard Vol fans who are still like, dude, why are you trying to fight? It's like in I think Vandy swept them in baseball, and they tried to start a fight after that
Well,
series. It's like,
Kentucky Tennessee fans don't get along, but I will say that is one thing Kentucky fans understand well, because Kentucky fans, I heard so many fans say that about the football team, for example, trying to start fights or whatever, get in scuffles after you lose. If you don't want to get in a fight, just beat them.
that's
Like,
right.
why are we? I've heard people tell me, why did they show more fight after the game than during the game? You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So, like, Kentucky fans actually will understand that sentiment quite a bit. You don't get to blow a game like that and then try to fight after. That's pitiful.
And even in basketball, I think the Reed Rob year at Rupp, when Tennessee came and won, Rob balled out, and if it wasn't for him, they would have got blown out. I think there was a dust up in that game. And Tennessee had like grown men. They still had Meshack and all those dudes. And all the Kentucky fans were like online, like, you're gonna lose the game and the fight if you had actually fought. So
Yeah.
it's the same kind of thing. We were fighting when we had no business trying to fight. Just take our L. I'm gonna try to share some video. Let me know if it works. I never do it, but just going back to Jalen Carey for Tennessee, even the Vol fans were mad at him, like I just mentioned. But credit to Mark Pope for using his 2 challenges well. He challenged 2 calls that was key. Kentucky was successful both times. That was Brandon Garrison's only points, for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kept possession to Kentucky on the Diabate, Nate Ament going out of bounds, that whole thing. Let me see if I can get this to show up. And should be Aberdeen when he puts Kentucky up by 3.
Shout out Daniel Hager.
You can see about he has been sensational in the second half. The turnover. You can see about he has been sensational.
I'm struggling. I'm trying to get it.
You can see about a 13-14 second difference between the game clock and the shot clock. Tennessee will play the possession out. Aberdeen the drive, and he hits. What a
So if I can hang on. So apologize for if that wasn't as smooth as it should be. But Cole, you were there, you were watching. If you look at that, Aberdeen's up top waiting for the high ball screen, and initially Malachi Moreno is going to go set the screen. They wave him off and motion for Diabate to come and set the screen, which gets Aberdeen switched up on Carey, who immediately gets his ankles broken, and Aberdeen gets into the paint for that tough left-handed layup to put him up 3. So they were hunting him. You know, we see everybody switches everything on pick and rolls. We've seen it happen to Steph Curry. You know, guys get him on screens and get him matched up. You know, they said no, Malachi, because I think it was like Parr was on Moreno.
Yes.
And they said nope. Mo D, you set this screen, and you got him switched up on Carey. So dude had a bad day. If you go back and rewatch it, he missed so many bunnies. He was really, like they said, 3 of 11, 3 of 12.
Making it just so much worse too is if you watch the TV broadcast, they would not stop showing his dad on the screen every like 5 seconds, sitting there looking respectfully, pardon my French, just looking pissed off in the crowd every single time they'd show him. He was not having a good day wearing the Miami Hurricanes hoodie. So I'm sure his day's gotten even worse since then, but just not like, it was so it was dominating the broadcast so much. And he was just not having an elite kind of game. And it was rough.
No. So I don't know, maybe hit Hypel up for spring practice, see if he got a spot at tight end for you, defensive end or something like that. But it was a bad day. And that was like 16 points he left right at the rim, and thankfully he did. But yeah, so after that, to still want to try to throw hands is hilarious.
Yeah. No, and something I did want to add to what you said there. Malachi Moreno has been phenomenal for Kentucky these last 3 games, this winning streak. He played really well at Mississippi State. We saw the assists. He had the buzzer beater and the points against LSU. And it's easy to suggest that maybe he didn't have the best game against Tennessee. It's easy to say that. But you look at that box score, and like you just said, he was on Felix Okpara for most of the game. That's a senior, a guy who is 4 years or 3 or 4 years his senior, going to be stronger than him by default, going to be, have that experience. And he made Okpara pretty much a non-factor all night long. So even if he wasn't able to kind of score the points like he wanted him to, he was able to play strong defense, keep Okpara from even having many shots in the game. So I think Malachi has been very important for that. And also with that stretch, great kind of headhunting of Carey there, but it's also Aberdeen who made the shot. He's garnered a lot of praise from Mark Pope for how he's been playing in these last few games. I mean, he's been phenomenal. And I think I was talking about this on radio, but it's so easy to get so hung up on scoring and making the big plays to make a comeback. But it doesn't matter how much you score, and it doesn't matter how much you make shots during a comeback if you can't make stops. Arguably more important than just scoring is stopping the other team from doing so and also limiting your own mistakes. Kentucky, let's keep it honest, in the first half, a bit of a turnover machine. It was pitiful. Some terrible turnovers. They cleaned that up significantly. I think they just had 1 in the second half. Aberdeen might not have had some of the assists you wanted to see out of him, but he was, Mark Pope said today, he was taking what was given to him. Today, when we spoke to Mark Pope, he said, here's the quote. He said, he made huge plays. His decision-making was elite. His ball protection was elite. His shot-making was elite. His defensive assignments were really solid. He said, even when he got under duress, he still played very, very well. He said, I don't know anybody in the country that has had a better last week than Denzel Aberdeen. So a lot of high praise for Denzel Aberdeen. And that's a guy who I don't ever want to say he was playing disappointingly earlier this season, but maybe playing less than we thought he would, not being the superstar some thought he could be. And now he's really kind of blossoming into his own. I don't know if it's just getting back into SEC play, somewhere he's comfortable, having been with the national title Florida Gators last year. Also kind of funny too, someone asked him, I believe post-game in the Tennessee game, they tried to compare the Kentucky team in Florida, and he started off his answer with, don't compare them, they're different teams. So all props to that. I respect that fully, but he's been playing phenomenal basketball these last few weeks.
Yeah.
Or really just this last week.
Yeah. And going back to Okpara, like you said, He had 5 points, 6 rebounds in 26 minutes. Rick Barnes, after the game, kept saying, if Felix can get 10 rebounds, we're a whole lot better team. And he mentioned effort. And again, credit Marino, true freshman out there banging with him and matched up with him most of the time. And his thing was, if Felix can get 10 rebounds, he'll stumble into 10 to 12 points. Well, he wasn't able to get 10 rebounds. He didn't stumble into but 5 points. And just again, credit to Marino. So we might have struggled on the box score, like you said, but the game within the game it tells a different story.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and that's after his big heroics in the swamp. I wrote my story on that for the swamp in LSU. Both are called the swamp in different ways. Who cares? Death Valley, whatever you want. The Bayou,
or whatever. Yeah,
it's all a swamp to me. Regardless,
you can go gator hunting in both places if you want to.
Exactly, that's what
especially
matters.
in Louisiana. What was it? It was Swamp People was the show, and
yes.
Down on the bayou, shoot them, Troy. The alligator.
Yeah. But my entire story after that game was about him and his play. That last 2 minutes in Baton Rouge is some of the most exciting basketball I think you can ever imagine. I mean, the way that all went. It comes down to Kentucky makes this big comeback. They take the lead, and then it seems like even after taking the lead, they're going to blow it. I mean, even before that point, though, Malachi Marino picked up his 4th foul in that game with like 2 minutes into the second half, and you're like, well, that's going to be it for his night. He comes back in with 9 minutes to go and never checks out again, never commits that 5th foul. I mean, what a play! What play from him on that? But even beyond that, you have what happens. Otega Owe looks like he hits the go-away shot, and then controversially, but in my opinion, correctly, the officials review that, say, no, the shot was not off in time. They take it away, puts LSU on the line. They go hit the Max McKinnon, I believe, hit his 2 free throws to put them up. It seems like, well, that might be it all over again. Owe goes to the line, has a chance to tie it back. 1 for 2, Vinny.
Yeah.
He goes 1 for 2 from the line, and I remember sitting there thinking, well, that's it. You can't go 1 for 2 in that spot. Cam Williams burns his 5th foul to send Pablo Tamba to the line, a guy who, not a great free throw shooter by any stretch of the imagination, but had been shooting well. He'd been good for at least 1 for 2 from the line every single time he went. And let's keep it a buck. I mean, even hitting 1 free throw on this spot would have significantly changed the game. It would make it a 2-point game, not a 1-point game. He goes 0 for 2. 0 for 2, Vinny. 0 for 2 from the line, and probably the biggest opportunity of his life right there. Not his biggest opportunity of his life, but biggest opportunity in the game. And then that leads to Colin Chandler having to inbound the ball because Williams is the one who's supposed to do that. He fouled out to put Tom on the line in the first place. And great play by Cam Williams to recognize that spot and make the foul as quickly as possible. Let it be Tamba that has his hands on the ball. Not a great free throw shooter in the first place. I mean, you would have taken the foul regardless, but it's significant that you were able to get it into Tamba's hands and commit that foul. Chandler would later clear up that it was not an overthrow. Pope did say if the ball's overthrown, throw it to go get it, Malachi. But Chandler clarified. He said Malachi did not tell me to throw it to him. He said I just saw him waving his hands out there. He clearly wanted the ball, so he made an audible in the moment. Throws it to Malachi Marino, who turns just so cleanly, Vinny, and shoots that shot, nothing but net. He said he felt like a kid in his backyard all over again. I mean, it was just what a moment, and the whole minute-long sequence to get there was some of the most like. If you'd have scripted it in a show, you would have said that feels unrealistic. But to see it in person, you're like, oh my goodness, what a sequence to get to that point.
So where was your vantage point? Where was press row? Where were you located?
So it's the whole place is like a circle with the court laying in the middle. It's along the baseline, not the goal line, the baseline, a bit to the left though, I would say. So I was probably angled. I can show you the picture from my Twitter thread. I always take my Twitter threads from press row, so I can pull that up real quick and kind of show that to you if I can get there. It's kind of about there from the court.
Okay.
About in the corner.
Okay.
A bit high up there, but nonetheless, we ball. So surrounded by glowy bracelets and stunned silence with sad rainbow glows on their wrists.
Yes, unbelievable. And your job's on the line, it backfired on McMahon. So yeah, it's probably probably dead coach walking and, just playing out the string from here on because it's going to be tough for them to recover and, kind of climb back into the standings, even though you've had Vandy lose a couple and it's not a runaway, squad right now. Everybody's kind of bunched up, but they're still clearly at the very bottom. So,
yeah, I mean, barring maybe like South Carolina, they're last. That's where they were last year. It's tough to say. Me personally, I'm not relishing in this failure by any stretch of the imagination. I loved watching Matt McMahon at Murray State. That's a guy who's coaching in Kentucky. A lot of people forget, and this is a cool thing I like to bring up to people, but a lot of them forget the year that Kentucky lost to St. Peter's, right? The 8-9 game that took place, I think it was 8-9 game. The 8-9 game that took place right after that, the final game of the night after all the Kentucky fans left after St. Peter's, was Murray State versus San Francisco. And that is Matt McMahon, Murray State, goes to LSU, and Todd Golden, San Francisco, goes on to Florida. Both coaches will be coaching the SEC the next year. Golden obviously has a national championship, and Matt McMahon seems on the verge of losing his job, unfortunately. So very different trajectories there, but a cool matchup to look at in the history books now. Felt like early on that program wasn't really supported as well as it could have been. I wrote a story my final year with the Kentucky Colonel when I was kind of covering all of college basketball, especially in the NCAA, especially in the SEC tournament. Kind of felt like they just never really got the NIL support they needed. A lot of that went to football, which at the time with Brian Kelly was not doing anything of significance, really. I say that like they didn't have the Heisman quarterback. I don't care. It's revisionist history. History is written by the winners. Brian Kelly got fired. I can crap on his tenure if I want to. Nonetheless, it just felt like, and it's always going to be this way, if we're being honest. It's always going to be this way in Baton Rouge, but basketball was always playing second fiddle to football, and then arguably even third fiddle to Kim Mulkey and the women's basketball team, maybe even fourth fiddle to the baseball team, which has been making a lot of strides. So it always kind of felt like it feels weird for us Kentucky fans to wrap our brain around it, basketball being one of the lesser important sports on your campus. But I saw the venue myself, and I saw, I've seen those atmospheres. I've seen what they do. LSU fans just don't care as much about basketball as other schools do. The Pete Maravich Center, the PMAC, we like to joke about it. It's not the nicest venue. It's not the nicest, and it's rarely ever full from what I see. And you go into this year, you get a bit more support than you've gotten in years prior, but the damage might have already been done. Then you lose your point guard, Dayton Thomas. That's a guy that Kentucky looked at in the portal before he ended up going to LSU. And it's not going well. They started the season maybe a little bit hot, and then turns out they just didn't really play anybody. They start off SEC play 0-3 before Kentucky goes down there, beats them in a buzzer beater in a game they thought they had won. I mean, talking to Matt McMahon after the game, he just seemed a bit shell-shocked. I don't want to say that because that could just be how he is, but there's not a lot of answers, and he certainly didn't have them right now. It just seems like that's something that is going to change, but I don't know that it's going to get significantly better for the next guy that comes in there. Will Wade did have that place going pretty well. Turns out he was cheating the entire time anyway, and they had to fire him. He goes and turns McNeese State into something, and then now he's at NC State. They're kind of on the wrong side of the bubble as we look at things now, year one. But it is tough when you look back in history and say, well, we had success with Will Wade, but then it turns out he might have been cheating the entire time, and it just hasn't worked out with Matt McMahon. So that's a tough spot to be in. I'm not envious of whoever the next LSU basketball coach is going to be, but I would expect maybe that program to have a new coach come next season.
Yeah, yes. Pretty much writings on the wall for that situation as of the way it currently stands for them, for sure.
It also doesn't help, too, that the SEC it's still a very good conference with some very good teams in it, but it's clearly a step down from where it was last year. It's not going to be the same conference. They got 14 teams into the field. So you have a weaker conference already, and LSU just still seems kind of trapped with South Carolina in the dead basement of that conference. So the other teams above you got worse, and you still didn't really move up. Even if I think LSU this year is better than they were last year, their standing didn't really shift in any meaningful way, maybe one or two spots, depending on how you want to grade, how harshly you want to grade some of these other programs. But it's still, for the most part, in the basement when everyone else above you got lower. It's just a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So flipping the football, Will Stein spoke. We had a national champion crown. So where you? Oh yeah, AFC Championship game. Which you lead us, man. Where you want to go first?
Well, first things first, I mean, we're a Kentucky show. We'll keep it Kentucky. We did get our chance to speak to Will Stein after his portal closed. Obviously, Oregon knocked out of the playoffs by, we can say it now, the eventual national champions. Long before that, but the portal finally closed. We got to speak to Will Stein before he goes out of town a little bit. Obviously, his family's still living in Oregon, so he kind of got to talk to us about this entire class. We spoke about the Big Blue Wall. He said the team, and heard a lot about the ambitions he has, the coaching hires, the players they've gotten, all of it. So I have a couple things I noted down. There's still going to be some stories coming out in the coming days for the Cat's Paws. Spoke in depth about the offensive line, rebuilding that Big Blue Wall, and he kind of also spoke about his intentions with Kentucky. He's always made it clear that, even back to his introductory press conference, that he wants Kentucky winning games. And he said, not just beating the teams that we have been beating. He said, when asked about the offensive line, he said the teams that win in January are the ones that win the trenches. Obviously, the teams that win in January clearly indicating his goal of getting in the college football playoffs. He was asked about Indiana as well, which we will get to the Hoosiers. Don't worry, any Indiana fans that for some reason might be listening. We love your attention. He said, debating to that, he said, compared to that, he said, yeah, I mean, we know it's possible. What Cignetti's done, we're aware that that's the goal. I'm not saying Kentucky's going to be undefeated national champs in 2 years, but he didn't shy away from the notion that Indiana has proven that it's possible, because it's going to be easy for, maybe even casuals or kids to forget, but Indiana wasn't just a mediocre to poor football program that became an undefeated national champ. It was arguably, maybe even not arguably, the worst Power 5 program, on par with Rutgers, on par with my Boston College Eagles, on par with you name it. Like the basement of not just the Big Ten, but the Power 5. To go year one to college football playoffs, year two to undefeated national champions is insane. And it was not something that he shied away from. If you can give me a few seconds here, I kind of want to try to pull up exactly what he said about Indiana, because I have it here. It was 2002 in the transcript.
I'll pop a comment up while you do that. Darlene on Facebook says, if Indiana can do it, we can. And I appreciate you checking us out, Darlene. Darlene is in Lexington. Noah Frary, who we had on, who you missed it, but the Yankees fans, going to talk Yankees, Red Sox, does a lot of calls for men's and women's basketball. Darlene cuts Noah's hair, so she's Noah's stylist. So I think Fade Away is the salon that Darlene has opened herself now. So Noah frequents and goes to Darlene's chair to keep his cut fresh for TV. So thank you, Darlene. And if Indiana can do it, we can. We used to beat Indiana every year. Used to battle it out with them every year when Kentucky played. The famous 3-0 game, I think in '95. Me and my sister were there. Kentucky wins 3-0. The most boring game you'll ever see. But Kentucky was on top that day. We got the field goal. They didn't. I think the year we went 1-10, broke the longest winning streak, beat Indiana to get off the schneid, as Chris Berman likes to say. So to see them just vault to a chip in football in 2 years is crazy.
Yes, and I do have the quote. For some context, this comes after Stein was asked about some of the younger coaches on Kentucky's staff, but the question was framed as less experienced. He got a bit defensive, said, which ones do you think are less experienced?
Nick Roush pissing him off.
I believe that was Nick Roush, yes. Which you don't usually see Roush get flustered. He got a little bit caught off guard by Stein's defensive to that ones, but all in good fun. Stein explained, he defended his coaches. But when asked about Indiana, he said, this is obviously before the game took place, but he said, I mean, Coach Cignetti is an elite coach. They have a number one pick at quarterback. They have really good players. They have a great scheme. He said, and they've invested in their program and on campus. He said, but yeah, it can be done. That's the exciting part about college football. A team like Indiana is in the national championship game, and it's not a fluke. He said, that's a real team. And he kind of joked, I lost to them twice, including 2 weeks ago. That is a real team with real players and coaches, and that's the beauty of college sports. And he said, that's what I'm saying. You can be a young coach, old coach, but if you're not adapting, you've lost. You're not going to win. The goal from us as a coaching staff and us as an athletic department as a whole, not just football, is to push this needle forward. And you can see the value that that has done and that it is possible, is what he was saying. He didn't shy away from the notion that, hey, Signetti just did it in 2 years, so you're going to do it in 2 years, right? I mean, obviously that's a bit unrealistic for every coach to be expected to do that. You can only have one national title a year. But the point he was making, he didn't shy away from that notion that it shows that it is possible, and it shows that that is the standard Kentucky is seeking with this hire and with this program going forward.
And look, he's a first-time head coach. There's going to be some hard knocks for things he's going to learn the hard way, as every first-time coach will. But the fact that we saw Stoops kind of elevate it. We saw 10 wins a couple of times. We saw you start beating out Michigan and different schools for players, and where you used to be, no disrespect, beating out Kent States and Eastern Michigan. The caliber player increased, and it looks like Stein is coming in to trying to take it to another level. Not scared to go after players and bring these guys in and look, not just being stuck in the mode. Well, Kentucky doesn't produce as much talent as other places, and it is what it is. No, he's pushing the envelope. He's trying to raise the ceiling, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate part about building a program like that is you have to keep taking the next step. But if you don't take the next step, you don't just get to stay at the step you're on, you tumble all the way back down the stairs. And that was Kentucky's problem under Stoops, is they kept taking those steps. They were capitalizing on down years for South Carolina, for Florida, for Missouri, they were beating these programs, but they never took that next step. Vinny, they never beat a Georgia. They never beat an Alabama. They never really, I mean, even though they beat them, they never went to Tennessee and won, really. They did once, I think, right? But never consistently is the point I'm making. It was never a consistent back and forth. It felt like if they got one, they picked them off, and then they were right back down to losing next year. So it never felt like they were actually, even the years where they finished second or third in the East, it never felt like they were really on the same level as those teams that were finishing first and second, and they never made the stride to get there. Even in those 10-win seasons, I think when Kentucky had its first 10-win season against Penn State, correct me if I'm wrong, because I wasn't a journalist at the time, but I was here around Kentucky fans, and most Kentucky fans were like, well, we're going to lose to Penn State, but whatever, it's fun. There wasn't a lot of expectation they would actually win, and there was more surprise than anything when they did it. And then just never really built upon that. I mean, Iowa, when they beat Iowa for their second 10-win season that has since been vanquished to the depths of vacant world. That was a team that still didn't quite feel like the true top of the sport, in the way that, like Darlene pointed out with Vanderbilt, they've got some big they knocked off in Alabama. They got some of those big marquee wins that it just felt like Kentucky never really did. I also like to point out that in the same year where Vandy, not this past year where they went 10-2, but the year before that when they truly set the world on fire and arrived, they also pretty sure lost to Georgia State. But regardless, we'll forgive it. They beat Alabama. So all fun, but you have to take that next step or else you fall all the way back down the ladder. And for this to work, it's going to take a lot. Indiana just became an undefeated national championship, and I'm still not certain that they're going to be on top of the college football world for the next 10 years. I don't know that. I don't know what next year is going to look like. How are they going to follow this up? We'll see. It's just a constantly evolving sport and evolving landscape. And like Stein pointed out, if you're not evolving, if you're not adapting, if you're not pushing the needle forward, then you've already lost. And that has probably ended more coaching careers than we want to count.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot out of you. I like the fact that Stein is young. I think Stoops was mid-40s when he came, and you got the energy, you got the fire burns, and eventually 10, 12 years of just grinding and going, it's gonna, it's gonna take it out of you. So, the constant grinding, he's just now probably got a little bit of sleep. He talked about all the juggling he was doing and no sleep. Everybody told me how bad I looked because the dude's on fumes, and trying to make calls and put an O-line together and a staff and the whole thing. It's constant. It's nonstop. It's year round. And, you either gotta be in it or not. And like you said, when your energy kind of starts winding down, you kind of lose some off your fastball, you get past quickly. It shows. You get exposed, you start losing, you lose out of recruits, you lose games, decision making in game, all that stuff is so results driven. And when you're off your game, everybody the feeding frenzy, everybody gets blood in the water and everybody takes advantage.
Well, I don't think it's a coincidence either that, and that we've seen this constantly changing landscape with NIL, the transfer portal, now revenue sharing. Look at the casualties of that. I mean, Tony Bennett left Virginia. Jay Wright left Villanova long before people thought he would. John Calipari leaves Kentucky to go to Arkansas. We even saw Nick Saban step away from the sport, finally leave. Like, a lot of great coaches are simply getting to the point where they're saying, hey, I don't have anything left to prove. This is not worth my energy anymore. We saw Roy Williams, Coach K both retired. They're both older coaches who were on the verge of it anyway. But, these things do play a factor. It clearly played a factor with Tony Bennett in Virginia. It played a factor with Jay Wright in Villanova. Played a factor with Jim Larinaga in Miami. We don't need to be, super secret about the fact that you can talk to some of these older coaches, and I have talked to some of these older coaches, and I'm not going to name any specific names, but a lot of them will tell you point blank, I just don't like where the sport is anymore. It's exhausting. It's tiring. I don't like having to rebuild my entire team every single year. I don't like having to re-recruit my own players every single year. It's exhausting. It's a young man's game. And there are still old coaches who are killing it right now. I mean, there are some older guys who are absolutely killing it, but I think you will start to kind of see a trend towards a lot of these younger coaches as a lot of these older guys just start to, not saying they can't do it, but just realize that it's not worth the energy sometimes it takes to lead a program, especially in this day and age. And even more so in football than basketball, where you don't just have to re-recruit 15 players, you got to re-recruit 80 of them. It's a lot. It's a lot to handle. I do want to add, while we're talking about college football, before we shift over to my beloved future AFC champions, future Super Bowl champions, knock on wood, I have to live up to my reputation for somehow having an entire warehouse in my one-bedroom apartment building. We have the Indiana Hoosiers license plate to represent for the day. This is a friend of mine's from Indy, but we have to represent the national champions in the episode today.
My eyes are burning, but congratulations to them. Yeah.
Mostly behind the Kentucky helmet.
This moment of blasphemy, I believe in Kentucky, is brought to you by, I don't know. I'm just kidding. Congrats to your friend. Congrats to the Hoosiers. And even though it's a rival, they do provide hope. And if they can do it, anybody can do it. If you play your cards right and get your program right in this landscape, other basketball schools can do it. Other non-blue bloods in football can do it. If Indiana can, so can a lot of other people. Colin Cowherd on his intro today. If Indiana can do it, I think he said, well, so can Michigan State, so can such and such, so can Kentucky football. He mentioned Kentucky right in his opening monologue, So.
I've seen a lot of people pointing out in terms of the whole conversation of who's going to be the next Indiana. I've seen a lot of people point to Kentucky. They meet a lot of the same qualifications, quite frankly. So there's a lot of people kind of riding that bandwagon that Kentucky could one day be the next Indiana. While we're shouting at all the nonsense we have in my apartment from the personal library of me, my favorite book I've ever read, John Feinstein's Season on the Brink with Bob Knight, Indiana Hoosiers. Also in the library, haven't quite got to them yet, but we have Steve Alford's Playing for Knights.
Oh my goodness.
And we have Bob Knight's My Story with his Texas Tech logo in there after Indiana ran him out of town. So got a couple Indiana books to get to. So lot in the personal library. We have many, many shelves over here.
Yeah. That's impressive. That's impressive. With you, well, born there but never wear red. I wear red for my Houston Rockets, but like on the college But I feel you, Darlene. I absolutely feel you.
Boston Celtics better.
So yeah, man. I guess we can flip to your what'd you say? Soon to be SC. Well, all you gotta do is beat Jared Stidham at home. That's all you gotta do.
Hey, respect to former Patriots legend Jared Stidham.
Born in Corbin.
That's Jared Studham for your information.
Born in Corbin, Kentucky,
Born in
too.
Corbin, yes.
Yeah.
Never quite panned out in New England after we drafted him. Still loved him anyway. Called him Jared Studham until we shipped him off. Now he'll be starting for the Broncos. I don't think he's played a single snap this year. I don't think their backup has it all. Bo Nix obviously, I believe, fractured his ankle in overtime of that AFC quarterfinal game against Buffalo. The Bills firing their coach. The Bills firing their coach is really interesting. I have a lot of thoughts on that. That's very interesting to me, but I'll keep those to myself. Nonetheless, Patriots take. I was telling you last week, Vinny. I said I'm terrified of that Texans defense. I'm so scared of the Texans defense. They should have been worried about that Patriots defense, huh? They should have been worried about that Patriots defense. 4 interceptions on CJ Stroud. One of them was the receiver tipping it up in the air. That's not his fault. Some of them just bad reads. I mean, the Patriots defense exposed something about CJ Stroud. They absolutely took care of business against the Texans. 4 interceptions. I'll agree with Peyton Manning till the day the sun comes up, or the cows come home, whatever the acronym or idiom is. I don't care. I'll agree with Peyton Manning every day of my life that I hate that Drake May will go down with an interception on the stat log because he threw a Hail Mary to end the first half. That shouldn't count the same. To me, I get it's an interception. I understand. But a Hail Mary to the end zone with 2 seconds left in the first half when you're up multiple scores should not count the same as CJ Stroud throwing it straight to a Patriots defender like 5 yards downfield. Like that, they shouldn't count the same. I'm sorry, they shouldn't. But nonetheless, the Texans start to prove that they do know how to play football. They do know how to get to the quarterfinals of the AFC. They start to make the comeback, and the Patriots shut it down. One of the best throws I've seen from Drake May all season. Just a dot downfield for the late touchdown to officially put it out of reach. They'll play the Broncos next week, or this week. My apologies. In the AFC title game, very, very exciting stuff. I will admit to being nervous about the Broncos, even if they don't have Bo Nix. I'm not going to, get too confident or count my eggs before they hatch. But if they can take care of the quarterbackless Broncos with a former Patriot on the team, maybe, just maybe, the fix. We sent him off so long ago so that he could sabotage the Broncos from within in the future. It's the long game, Vinny. But conspiracy theories aside, if they can take care of business against the Broncos, they will go back to the Super Bowl for the first time since they won it against the Rams, against either the Seahawks or the same Rams, with the same coach that they beat those years ago. And in my opinion, as a former defensive guy and a former lineman, a great game. But for many people, one of the most boring Super Bowls of all time, 13-3. I loved it as a defensive-minded guy, but it was not pretty to watch sometimes.
I never. That's the first time a Super Bowl's ever. I mean, no explosive, no nothing. I'm like, wow, that had never happened. I mean, even the blowouts were fun. There was years when the NFC blew out the AFC like for a decade straight, and then the AFC flipped the script.
You can say Seahawks Broncos. It's okay. You can say Seahawks Broncos.
And even when I was a kid, I mean, like the Bears. I'm sorry, the Bears Warrior Patriot. The first Super Bowl I watched, the Bears Patriots, 46-10. The 85 Bears. That was way before you. But that was when my Cowboys were blowing out the Bills. It used to be blowouts, but that 13-3. That might be the biggest Super Bowl snoozer ever. That's gonna be hard to get more sleepy than that. But if you're a Patriots fan, it was poetic. It was great. I get it.
I'll agree to disagree. I'm a defensive minded guy, and my team was in it. So for me, I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, completely locked in. I will also shout out from the personal library of Cole Park. I actually bought so I'm the kind of guy, I took my girlfriend down with me to Baton Rouge, stay in the hotel. We love to read. So one of the first things I did in Baton Rouge for our vacation was we went to a used bookstore to try to find books that we couldn't find around here. I picked up a couple that I don't know why they were in Baton Rouge, but I got Belichick, a little biography there. I want to get his own autobiography. I think it's like The Art of Winning or something like that, or something like that.
Wow.
But I do want to read that one. But very soon I'm reading The Impossible Team, the worst to first Patriots Super Bowl season.
Wow.
Excited to get to this one.
Finitary, man.
We'll get to those books as well. A lot of books in this library. I'm telling you, man. A lot of books in this library.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, y'all got that in common. So hey, I get it. And I can see if I'm a Patriots fan playing the high-powered Rams, you could be worried that their offense would just start going off any point. So I get that.
Fully on the edge of my seat.
I remember what it was like to be nervous for my team in the playoffs. It's been a while. But I remember those. You don't care about the halftime show. You're not even worried about the commercials. Everybody else is like, oh, that's a good one. That's funny. This was, but when it's your team, you're like, man, you're just that nervous energy that, yep. I get it. So we'll see what they do, man. I think Stidham hadn't played since like 2023. He's real rusty. So, yeah, y'all got that in your feather. Y'all got that feather in your cap going for you. He's got to try to get up to game speed with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. So, advantage Patriots as far as that goes.
I will say, though, I love my guy to death. That's a Kentuckian and, more importantly, a former Patriot to me. I love all my former Patriots, but if he does ball out for us after how he played in New England, I will be sick to my stomach and I'll be disgusted. If he absolutely balls out against us after how he played for us, I will be disgusted.
Yeah, Sean Payton coaching him up this week. You never know, man.
Hey, no, there was a stat after was it the Giants that hired Harbaugh?
Yeah.
I believe the stat was that no coach ever has won a Super Bowl with two different franchises. Sean Payton's still trying to be the first this season. There have been coaches that have gone to the Super Bowl with different teams, but there's never been a coach that has won two Super Bowls with different teams.
Yeah, Andy Reid's been with two different
Andy Reid's
ones.
been with two teams, but he never won with the Eagles.
That's true. So, wow.
Sean Payton trying to obviously, if you want to be honest, the way stats can mislead you is because most of the time Super Bowl winning coaches don't get let go very often. So there is some survivorship bias in that, that most of the time if you win a ring with a team, you either retire there or you don't get a ton of other options. But nonetheless, Sean Payton has a chance to do it this year. I don't know that, the quarterback situation helps with that a ton, but he does have a chance after winning it with the Saints to potentially get one with the Broncos as well.
Trying to even think of guys who different teams to the Super Bowl, like just because like Tony Dungy didn't get the Bucks there. He won it with the Colts. Yeah, wow. That is dropping that trivia nugget. All right, man. So the Cats are at home for Texas tomorrow. We don't worry about Ole Miss. We just worry about Texas. Can they keep it going? Can they get off to a good first half start? Texas has won at Bama.
They have the most confusing SEC resume to me. I don't understand it. How do you lose in overtime to Mississippi State, lose to Tennessee, and then beat Alabama and Vandy back to back? What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing? And then you lose again right after that. What are we doing, Texas?
Yeah. To A&M, right? A&M got
Yeah, to A&M. And A&M that is a good basketball team this year, but, Buckyball year one, giving teams problems, but not one of the top teams in the SEC, you wouldn't say. They have a loss to UCF on their resume, which admittedly a good UCF team. They blink and you'll miss it, pop into the top 25 for a week, and then we're back out of it along with SMU. But, not an elite team by any stretch of the imagination. Definitely maybe the bottom half of the SEC, if not barely top half. So you've got losses in overtime to Mississippi State, a pretty low team in the conference, a loss to Tennessee, which just lost to Kentucky and is very iffy this year. And then you have the loss to Texas A&M, sandwiching wins over the top two teams in the conference. It doesn't make sense, Benny. It doesn't make sense, but that's college basketball and that's the SEC.
Texas A&M should have beat Tennessee in Knoxville. They had the lead for most of the game.
They got robbed.
So helter-skelter, just shooting 30-foot threes and just running around crazy. It was the pace of that game was crazy. But
I think that one went to double overtime, didn't it?
Yeah. Which I was glad to see that with Kentucky coming in, even though they played the following day. I'm like, well, at least Tennessee had, double overtime game before, but yeah, we'll see what happens, get off to a better start. And Aberdeen just had one shot. He was in foul trouble. That was,
yes.
Looking at that Saturday, I'm like, so Jasper kept
did
Tennessee
well. He made some good.
Kept Kentucky in it in the first half.
Yeah, he did have a costly turnover that made you go kind of, what are you doing? But the whole team did in that first half. He also had some great assists. He was hitting some big shots in the first half, kind of switched more to distributing a bit in the second half. He's come a long way, and he's developing a ton in his role as, a guy who came into Kentucky expecting to just be able to be a Rob Dillingham type, where you put on some flashy plays, score a bunch of points, then go to the NBA. Not quite how it's worked out for him, but he has taken that. He's adapted to a new role, being the backup point guard. He's adapted to being a distributor more than just a shoot first kind of guy. And, especially for a young guy, the maturity he's shown in adapting to that and shifting into that role I think he's got a very bright future ahead of him.
And JQ will what?
Not play. He will not play against Texas.
The rest of the year, he's still trying. He's still.
Yeah, Mark Pope said that I wrote a story on it today for the Cat's Paws. The update today is that he will not play against Texas, but he's trying. He's making progress. He said we're going to need both him and Malachi. I think that for most fans, his return is not as important now that Malachi's been taking that step and they've been winning, but Pope kind of shot down that notion, seemed to indicate that they need both of them if they really want to be successful. As for when we see him again, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine right now. Hope that you see him again, but nonetheless, the update that we have for now is that as far as tomorrow goes against Texas, JQ will be out for the fourth game in a row.
Yes. So enjoy being at home this week after all the miles logged on the road last week, going down to the Bayou and back. Shout out to Safe Flight, right? Safe Flight Auto Glass. And we'll see what happens tomorrow night against these Longhorns. Sean Miller, good coach, good squad. Still got Mark, who is a bucket. And they got some other guys who are buckets coming in here. So see if we can
Dalen
stack them.
Swain.
Yeah.
Xavier legend.
So see if the Cats can keep it going. Y'all check Cole out on the Cat's Paws. Follow him on social media. All the articles and the insights from the beat, from the venues, from the press conferences, live, up close, and in person. Root for or against his Patriots this weekend, whatever you want to do. We'll have we'll have the Super Bowl contenders, contestants, participants next time we're on this podcast. So yes, might as well. Hey, it's working for you.
Root
for Cole Park, my name is Vinny Hardy. It's been another episode of Believe in Kentucky. Appreciate everybody on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, and all the areas where you can watch or listen. Subscribe, give us 5 stars, rate, review, and all that good stuff. We'd appreciate it. We'll be back next time on Believe in Kentucky. Go Cats. Stay warm this weekend. We'll holler at y'all next time.